The campus was beautiful. It was nestled on the edge of a wooded area. A wrought iron fence bordered an old cemetery next to the north side of the building. Its towering oak trees cast long shadows over the gravestones. For Mark, it was hard not to notice it on his walk between classes, but it seemed like the other students ignored it. Mark's first week was a blur of lectures, introductions, and late-night pizza runs with his dorm buddies. By Friday, he finally started settling into a routine. That's when he noticed her. She was sitting beneath a massive weeping willow at the edge of the cemetery. Its long branches swayed gently in the breeze. Her long dark hair flowed over her shoulders, and she had what looked like a book in her lap. But she seemed lost in her thoughts as she looked into the distance. Mark couldn't help but look at her as he passed by on his way to his next class. That night, Mark found himself thinking about her image lingering in his mind as he tries to study. Probably some art major, he says to himself. The next day, on his way to class, she was there again. Same spot, same posture, same distant stare. For the next week and so on, every time he passed by the cemetery, he would see her. "Who do you keep staring at?" Tyler, his roommate, asked one afternoon as they walked to the cafeteria. "What? Oh, that girl under that tree over there," Mark says as he nods towards the willow. "What girl?" Tyler says. Mark looks back at the tree only to find the girl was gone. "Nothing, I guess," Mark says as he tries to play it off. "Come on, we need sustenance," Tyler says as he starts walking again. Mark takes a final look at the tree and shakes his head as he follows. The following afternoon, Mark couldn't shake the urge to go talk to her. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was like an invisible string pulling him towards the girl under the tree. So after his last class, he makes his way to the cemetery. The breeze was gentle, carrying the faint scent of pine and wildflowers. The girl was there, sitting on the grass. She wore a simple white dress that caught the breeze ever so slightly. Mark hesitated for a moment, his nerves threatening to get the better of him. "Hey, do you mind if I sit here?" he asks nervously. The girl looks up, startled. From up close, she was even more perfect. Her skin was pale, but flawless, and her eyes were a mix between gray and green. "Of course," she says softly as she gestures to the grass beside her. Mark sits on the ground and nervously asks, I see you here a lot. Do you have many classes?" She smiles faintly. "No, I don't go to school here. I just like the quiet here," she says. Mark nods, unsure what to say next. He looks to the cemetery behind them. Kind of a unique spot to hang out in," he says awkwardly. She tilts her head as she looks to the graveyard. "I suppose it is, but I've been connected to this place for a while now." Mark nods and tries to change the conversation. "What are you reading there, if I can ask?" She holds up the book so he can read the title. "Wuthering Heights. That's a classic," Mark says, smiling. "I read it in high school, but I really didn't get into it." "It's not for everyone," she says, "but it does speak to those who understand longing." There was something in the way she said it that made Mark's chest tighten. "I'm Mark, by the way," he says, extending his hand. She hesitated for a moment before taking it. Her touch was cold, but not unpleasant. "Evelyn," she replies. "Nice to meet you, Evelyn," Mark says, holding her gaze. They talked for a while, the conversation flowing more easily than Mark expected. Evelyn had an old-fashioned way of speaking, her words measured and deliberate, but she seemed genuinely interested in what he had to say. She asked him about his classes, his family, and his life back home. In turn, Mark asked about her, but her answers were vague. She grew up nearby, she said, but didn't elaborate. As the sun started to set, Evelyn stands. "I should go," she says, holding the book to her chest. "Oh, okay, I guess I'll see you around," Mark says, standing up as well. Evelyn smiles before turning and walking away. Mark starts packing his stuff up, and when he looks up, she's gone. Mark stands there for a moment, feeling as though he'd just woke from a dream. A chill ran down his spine as he turns to walk back to his dorm. The following weekend, Mark found himself drawn to the big oak tree once again. This time, he carried a book titled Ghosts and Hauntings, Legends of the Past. As he approached the tree, he could see her sitting there gracefully with her book in her lap and that same distant stare. "You brought a book this time," she says as he approaches. Mark chuckles as he holds the book up for her to read the title. Her eyes seem to brighten as she reads the words. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asked, her tone light. He shrugs as he sits down a few feet from her. "Not really. I mean, I've never seen one, so it's hard to believe in something that I've never seen." Evelyn tilts her head slightly, her smile faint. "So you don't believe in things you can't see?" "Not usually," Mark admits. "I'm more of a facts and logic kind of guy. If it can't be explained, it's probably not real." Evelyn looked at him with a thoughtful expression. "And what if you saw something you couldn't explain?" Mark, caught off guard by the question, says, I guess I'd have to see it to believe it then." Evelyn laughs softly. "Well, sometimes even when the truth is staring them in the face, people still seem to find it hard to believe." "That's a bit cryptic," Mark says, trying to lighten the mood. "Maybe, but it's something to think about," Evelyn says as she stands up and brushes down her dress. Before Mark could say anything, Evelyn had already walked several paces away, heading toward the cemetery gates. "Hey," he calls out, but she continues walking. He debates running after her, and for the first time, Mark felt a twinge of doubt, an uneasy sense that maybe there was more to Evelyn than he realized. Mark hesitates for a moment, but the way Evelyn glided towards the cemetery gate, her pale dress illuminated by the moonlight, drew him in like a moth to a flame. His heart pounded as he follows her into the cemetery, the air growing colder with each step. "Evelyn," he calls, his voice echoing eerily among the ancient tombstones. She doesn't respond, only walking deeper into the maze of graves. Mark stumbles over a crooked headstone, catching himself just in time to see Evelyn stop near a massive oak tree. She turns to face him, her expression serene under the moonlight. "You don't belong here," she whispers, her voice tinged with sorrow. "What do you mean?" Mark says, his breath visible in the frigid air. Instead of answering, Evelyn smiles as she slowly fades away. Mark's eyes widen as he drops to his knees, his mind not registering what he just saw. He stands and looks around before stepping closer, dread pooling in his stomach. The stone was cracked and covered in moss, but he could still make out the inscription. Evelyn Margaret Whitaker, 1847 to 1865, beloved daughter, forever missed. Mark stumbles backward, his mind racing. "No, this can't be." Mark stood frozen, his eyes looking around the gravestones, hoping to catch a glimpse of her again. Instead, he notices the faint scent of lavender in the air. Shaking, he knelt down beside the grave and traces the engraved name with his fingers. A mix of awe and fear washes over him. He had been talking to a ghost, and she had been as real to him as any living person. As he rose to leave, a whisper floated through the cold night air, soft and haunting. "Thank you for seeing me." Mark turned, but the cemetery was empty. He hurried back to campus, his footsteps echoing through the quiet path. Though the encounter left him shaken, he couldn't shake the bittersweet sense that Evelyn had finally found peace. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. What'd you think of my version of the Vanishing Hitchhiker? Have you ever encountered anything like this, or maybe something similar to this scenario? I often wonder if I have encountered a ghost like this and it just never let on that they were a ghost. Is that even possible? Who knows? Anywho, curiosity is getting the better of me, so let me know down below if this has ever happened to you. See you in the next one. Ciao.